Imagine carrying a message so profound and, frankly, so incredibly heavy that it's literally destined to change the entire course of human history. Just think about the sheer physical and emotional weight of that kind of responsibility for a second. How would that feel? How would you even begin to prepare for it? Well, welcome to this explainer. That is exactly the context we're exploring today in Surah Al-Muzzammil, which is the 73rd chapter of the Holy Quran.
Okay, let's dive right into this. The title of this chapter, Al-Muzzammil, translates to the Enshrouded One, or the wrapped in garments. So the immediate question that's probably popping into your mind is, who exactly is wrapped in garments, and why in the world are they hiding? To really understand the beauty of the surah, we have to travel back in time to the very beginning, to a moment of intense vulnerability at the absolute start of Prophet Muhammad's mission, peace be upon him.
Section 1. The Cave and the Command, or the Weight of Revelation.
To set the scene here, the Prophet had just recently received the very first verses of the Quran while he was in the cave of Hira, out in the mountains of Mecca. Historical accounts tell us he was literally trembling. He was completely overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of this first encounter with the angel Gabriel. So he leaves the cave, rushes home to his wife, Khadijah, and in this state of total awe and fear, he asks her to cover him with a blanket. And it's right here, in this exact moment of extreme vulnerability, that the Creator speaks directly to him. The surah opens with a greeting that is so incredibly tender, acknowledging his state, yet at the same time it's a firm, commanding directive. It reads, "O you who wraps yourself in clothing, arise and warn." Just let the spiritual magnitude of that moment sink in for a second. In his moment of seeking comfort, of wanting to just hide away under a blanket, he's being called to stand up and face the world.
Let's see how this builds. Because the command wasn't just, to go out and start talking immediately. Not at all. Allah commands the Prophet to stand in prayer during the quiet of the night. This wasn't merely a ritual. We're talking about rigorous spiritual training. Standing in the absolute stillness of the night, reciting the Quran slowly and deliberately, was explicitly meant to prepare his heart and his mind to carry what the text calls the heavy word, that massive revelation he was about to deliver to humanity.
Section 2, Patience and Letting Go. Facing Rejection.
And he was definitely going to need that preparation, because the reality he was about to face was incredibly chaotic. As the Prophet began his mission, stepping out from the comfort of his home, he faced immense mockery, fierce rejection, and severe hardship from the powerful leaders of Mecca. The societal pushback was intense. But rather than telling him to fight fire with fire, verse 11 gives us this profound lesson in patience when confronting injustice. It says, "And leave me with those who deny, the comfortable ones among them, and grant them a little respite." Think about how powerful that is. When you're facing rejection for doing what's right, your initial instinct is usually to argue back, right? To fight, to prove yourself. But this verse introduces a completely different paradigm for dealing with opposition. The core message here is beautifully simple. Do your part and leave the rest to the Almighty. We do not need to fight every single battle ourselves. We're commanded to stand firm, deliver the message, and then just let go. The surah reminds us that those who arrogantly reject the truth are ultimately in the hands of the Creator, and their reckoning is gonna be heavy. It's essentially a message of releasing your anxieties and fully trusting the process. Section 3. The Lesson of Pharaoh, Worldly Illusions. To really drive this concept home, the text shifts to a powerful historical example, the story of Pharaoh. When we think of Pharaoh, we think of ultimate worldly power, immense wealth, massive armies, and unchallenged authority in ancient Egypt. He had absolutely everything a person could accumulate in this physical world. Yet, despite all of that, he rebelled against the truth, and ultimately, he completely failed. And this brilliantly illustrates a vital comparison. On one side, you have worldly power, wealth, and armies, which the surah reveals is just Pharaoh's illusion. On the other side, you have the path back to the Creator, which is the eternal reality. Worldly status and human arrogance mean absolutely nothing in the grand, sweeping scheme of eternity. What matters? The only thing that truly matters is the spiritual path we choose to take. Indeed, we have sent to you a messenger, so whoever wills, let him take to his Lord a way. Take a deep breath with me right there. Because after this incredibly heavy warning, after the immense burden of the night prayers, and the stark reminders of Pharaoh's fate, the narrative in the surah makes a dramatic and, frankly, beautiful shift. Section 4. The Mercy, Lightening the Burden. We now enter a section that is incredibly warm and profoundly comforting. Initially, as we discussed, the command to stand in prayer for half the night was a strict obligation to prepare the prophet. But the conclusion of Surah Al-Muzzammil reveals something amazing about the nature of the Creator. Allah, in His infinite mercy, intimately knows human limitations. He knows our struggles. This brings us to the remarkable verse 20. It says, "He knows that there will be among you those who are ill and others traveling through the land seeking the bounty of Allah. So recite what is easy from the Quran." This is such a gentle concession. The strict obligation is lightened because the Almighty doesn't demand the impossible from people who are sick or exhausted from traveling and working just to provide for their families.
So the crucial point is, instead of an overwhelming burden, the text provides a beautiful, highly practical 3-step formula for living a righteous life. Number 1, establish your regular daily prayers. Keep that baseline connection strong. Number 2, give generously in charity. Look out for those around you. And number 3, constantly seek Allah's forgiveness. It's a grounded, totally accessible framework that replaces the heavy midnight burden with sustainable daily devotion.
And the biggest takeaway from this lightening of the load is this. Ultimately, it's Allah's mercy that saves us, not just our strict adherence to deeds. The burden was lightened precisely because the Creator doesn't burden a soul beyond what it can bear. It's a powerful reminder that our intentions and our reliance on divine mercy are just as important as the physical acts of worship we perform. Section 5, Spiritual Resilience, Final Takeaways. As we wrap up our analysis, we can clearly see that this entire explainer reveals a true masterclass in spiritual resilience. Surah Al-Muzzammil teaches us the absolute importance of grounding ourselves in the quiet, reflective hours of the night. It gives us the permission to let go of our deep anxieties regarding the people who oppose or mock us, teaching us to simply trust in divine justice. Which leaves us with this final thought for you to take away today. The next time you feel completely overwhelmed by the weight of your own responsibilities, I want you to remember the Enshrouded One. Remember how this surah started and how it ended. When the weight of the world feels too heavy, how will you find peace in the quiet of the night? Always remember that your Creator is listening and His mercy is and always will be far greater than your struggles. Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and keep learning.